Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, Geek XX Chic, and we're back with another review to The Walking Dead. This is for the latest episode, which was called Omega. And this one was one of those long expositionary episodes that The Walking Dead likes to take us on a few times a season. Yeah, this one was more, it was very, I guess I was having a hard time figuring out who we were supposed to really be delving into. And I don't mean that in the sense of, I know this was Lydia's story to some degree, but usually like you have a brand new character here who at this point we don't know if Lydia is going to continue to be part of the active storyline, but we have Daryl interacting with this girl, and we also have Henry. Child, I'm gonna rant about him later. And usually when you do stories like this, it's because we're trying to expose something, either about an existing character or about what's going on, the state of affairs in the world today or something. And I don't know, maybe it's just, maybe I just missed it, but I was having a hard time kind of figuring out where we were supposed to be going with that. Right off the bat, it was interesting. I do think that it was the way they did the memories for Lydia was really well done, as far as having her say one thing and kind of go through this, you know, you could almost say like a rose-colored lens of her memories with the shocking images of the actual reality. Like right in the beginning when Henry first asked about her dad, and she had the image of him being thrown up against that wall and then his throat being slit. And then later on she talks about him getting bitten by a walker trying to heroically save her. And so it just kind of didn't all add up in the sense of one moment she was talking about how her dad was kind of mean and seemed cold, and her mom was all like, why are you talking this way around the children? And then the next minute it was like, she was like, oh, he made me feel safe and he was the soft one. So I'm like, do you understand? Like those things just didn't add up. Like someone who's soft or considered soft by any stretch is typically not the kind of person that's going to yell at a child or talk about death and that sort of thing lightly. And as soon as she remembered her mom crushing the trachea of that poor panicked man, I was like, there's no way her dad was the person that she described him to be. There's no way. And so it was very interesting. And also that line, I remember actually watching and thinking when she said that line, the line where we see her dad, you know, cutting his beard off. And he's like, you know, I never liked this. It was never me. I did this for you. And now this is a new world. I'm doing things my way. And I'm like, I don't know that many men that would say a line like that. And I'm not saying that there aren't relationships, because clearly in the relationship of Lydia's parents, her mom was the alpha. She was the boss. And it sounds like she was kind of a bit of a hard woman. And it makes me wonder if she's always been like that. But she was clearly the more aggressive person in their relationship. So for him to say something like, you know, I'm going to take this off now because this is what it just didn't feel right. That's not something a woman would do. Just like, again, that just flowed right into Henry's story about Carol and her short hair. It makes way more sense that Lydia's mom would shave her head over her dad. And it didn't get it at first. It didn't really hit me at first until, because remember I said, you know, we saw the scene with Lydia's mom killing the panicked guy. And then the next scene we see her mother in, she's bald. And I'm like, why? What? Why would she cut her hair after killing him? Like, that makes no sense. But obviously it had happened earlier. Her mother, over the course of those, I don't even know, it sounds like it was at least a little over a month, 2 months in that bunker that they were in, she slowly turned into what she is now, which is this hardened, brazen, just former shell of whatever she used to be. And her dad, Lydia's father, was the soft place. You know, her dad was the one that sang to her every night. Her dad was the one who tried to provide comfort and balance and normalcy. And unfortunately, as we saw, her mom took him out. And once that happened, Lydia was kind of pressure cooked into this idea that she had to be hard at all costs. Obviously, as we saw, she's being beaten, she's been abused, her mother. And the fact that those bruises were fresh, and this is why, like I was saying in the review that, or sorry, in the reaction, that I don't know how much of I trust with Lydia. I do think she's being honest at the moment. Like once she had that moment of hearing the baby cry and realizing that this really was just innocent people, I think she did have a bit of a mini psychotic break. And that's why she was honest about everything afterwards, as far as the fact that the story that she'd been fed was not the truth. And I love, thank you so much, show, for writing Daryl with some sense this season so far. It's so nice to see him using his brain. I love that Daryl saw through all of her BS and saw through her, you know, everything she was saying to Henry, and knew that none of it was true and wasn't falling for any of it. Daryl's always had a really good, he's always had an amazing bullshit detector, and it was in full effect. He wasn't affected at all by her tears or doughy brown eyes and none of that stuff. And that was really good to see, because Daryl does have a soft spot, particularly for people who've been through a lot, like, you know, have been physically abused and such. But he didn't fall for it, and when he knew when she was finally telling the truth. But the fact that she had the fresh bruises on her hands, sorry, coming back to my point, says to me that she's still, potentially she's still struggling with what her mother wants her to be versus what she actually is. Which it sounds like she was much more like her father than the other way around. Like her mom's trying to mold her into what she thinks she needs to be for this world, but she's still much more like her dad. And every time that side of her comes out, her mom tries to beat it out of her, quite literally. So I don't know. I guess the only part I wasn't sure how I felt about was the allusions drawn to with Daryl, because we all know that Daryl's storyline, you know, especially in the earlier seasons, was all about the abuse that he went through at the hands of his father and even his brother to an extent. And him and Carol, that's what bonded them so closely in the beginning, is because Carol having to deal with her ex-husband, or not ex, but her deceased husband, and him having to deal with his dad. They have this common ground of knowing what it was like to be abused and hurt and scared of people who were supposed to love and protect you. It was interesting that, I don't know if Daryl sensed that Lydia was possibly abused before that, but as soon as he saw those you know, markings, I like that he switched tacks and realized that, okay, someone who's been through what she's been through, someone who's been abused by their parent or someone close to them so much, the sad reality is for a lot of people who are like that, and this is what, you know, you hear so many people say when they talk to people who've been in abusive relationships, you hear them say all the time, well, why don't you just leave? Why don't you run away? It's not that simple, because there is a lot of emotional and mental stuff that goes on with people who abuse that is deep, and it takes a lot of strength and a lot of time sometimes for some people to really reconcile what they need to do in order to break away from that, because the bruises heal. Like, that's honestly not even the worst of it. It's what they do here and what they do here. And in Lydia's case, her mom did keep her safe. Her mom has been taking care of her. It's not like her mother has left her to be, you know, tossed her out to the wolves per se. So and plus it's her only living parent as well. And in a world where everything else has disappeared and people have died, we've seen it. We saw with the, you know, with the other group that snuck out today, like those bonds become so important. So Lydia's in this rock and a hard place, in that obviously things are not idyllic with this parent she was stuck with. However, she doesn't know where else to go. She doesn't feel like she could be out there on her own. So I'm glad that Daryl kind of saw that and realized that, like, I knew the whole thing with Henry coming to let her out. I wasn't worried about it, because I knew there's no way Daryl was not keeping his eye on that kid. He knows how gullible this kid is, and he was like, yeah, no, he's definitely gonna let her out. But I think Daryl wanted to see. He was watching and he was trying to see, like, was he right about his predictions about the abuse and the effect it had on her? And he was right. Just like, you know, unfortunately, like the kick dog, like she got out there, she was gonna do something that her mom would have wanted her to do, which was kill Henry or seriously hurt him, whatever. But then she heard that baby cry, and that part of her that's still not like her mom just came through, and you saw she had a bit of a break. Like, she started hearing the voices in her head, and then she was like, no, I can't do it. And then she's like, just put me back in the cage. Like, at least if I'm in the cage, I can't do, like, I won't do anything, mostly because I can't. And that's gonna be her excuse. You can almost see that she's already ready to be able to say to her mom, hey, I know you wanted me to kill them all, but I couldn't because I was locked up, right? Like, it's her way of kind of skirting the more sinister things that her mom might expect of her. Why she said her mom would not still be coming for her was interesting, though. But again, maybe she doesn't get it. Like, maybe from her perspective, she thinks her mom only considers her to be a burden or whatever the case may be. But the thing is, when it comes to abusive people, it's not about love for them, it's about obsession. It's about possession. And that's why I knew, like, oh no, Lydia's mom is coming for her. She's coming for her because it's a matter of power for her. Like, she's not gonna lose this thing that she's been trying to mold and control for all these years. There's no way she's gonna do that, not easily. Maybe Lydia didn't realize that, but sadly, our two guys who disappeared in the last episode likely, I don't know, my guess is they were tortured into giving up Hilltop. I don't know if they're still alive. We did not see them with the group, but my guess is, I don't know, maybe it's going to be a trade. I think if Alpha is smart, she will set up a trade for the two guys for her daughter. I mean, at this point, they probably realize they can't full on attack Hilltop, but that doesn't mean it's over. I have no doubt that she's probably going to come back if she does get Lydia back. My worry now, though, is that Henry annoyed me the hell out of me the whole episode. I know he was being used as a tool, but I cannot get over how naive and stupid this kid is. And the reason it bothers me so much is because it's not like he's like other kids who grew up with fences around them the entire time. He talked about just in this episode how him and his dad and his brother were out in the wilderness till when, and then he witnessed his brother get killed, he witnessed his dad get killed, he killed somebody when he was all of 10 years old. Like, he's supposed to have more sense than this. After the Saviors, after Negan, after everything, you think this boy would have more sense, but no. Just stupid and gullible, and he is going to get someone killed. I can't take it. Like, the fact that he just thought, let me just start talking about Kingdom and how many people are there in the guards, and how do you just give out trust so readily to somebody who literally just killed people that you know, killed Jesus, someone you've known for years. Just, it's so annoying. Like, I don't know if they're purposely trying to make this kid great on nerves, but they're accomplishing if that's the case. I just really need to just have a break from Henry for at least a few episodes, because I honestly can't even look at the kid right now. It was so painful watching him bond with this girl, but I digress. So that was pretty much that storyline. Obviously, as I said, I'm not surprised at all that it ended with the Whisperer showing up at Hilltop to get her back. Whether or not they'll give her up is the question. I think they'd be stupid not to at this point, because honestly, they don't have a leg to stand on to keep her. But the reality is they're compromised as a camp now anyway. So it's going to be really up to Tara, I guess, and a catch-22 on whether or not she thinks it's worth the risk to go to war with these people when they still know so little about them. And they know no idea whether or not Lydia would actually help them take the Whisperers down. The only other storyline we had was, of course, the new group. Honestly, I'm sorry, I still haven't memorized their names because I still don't feel like they're going to be around that long. But yeah, it was kind of just, it seemed really silly. I feel like their whole excursion and the whole side story just didn't need to happen, to be perfectly honest. I think if anything, if they were going to show something about them trying to bond with the Hilltop group, they could have had them, you know, they go out, they look for them, realize they don't know where they are, and as Tara very smartly and brilliantly brought out, they didn't have a plan, they don't know who they're up against, there was too much ground to cover, and like they said, like they're just not prepared to go out there as they were. So let's go back, they said, let's go, let's plan, let's go out there knowing what we're gonna do. Like, I feel like it just would have been so much easier if they just shown the group sitting in their house or whatever, talking about it. We could have had the chick with the bow and arrows being like, yeah, I think we should go out there. And then, you know, just have the rest of them say, listen, no, listen, Tara has a plan. Like, she's right. What are we going to accomplish by going out there by ourselves? We don't know anything about this. We don't know if it's a real walker or a fake walker. By the time we figure it out in the pitch black of night, it'll be too late. And one of us is deaf. I feel like that didn't need to escalate to the point of them sneaking out, going out to the woods just to turn around and be like, you know, it's kind of dark out here. You know, we might be a little unsafe. Maybe this isn't a good plan for just like the 5 of us to be out here alone in the dark with no one knowing where the hell we are, trying to look for people when we can't yell and we can't really look too hard, we can't make too much noise or flash our lights too far. You know, everything Tara basically said when broad daylight was sense. It just didn't need to happen. And then that weird scene where the girl's like, I remember us being separated and I can't do it. What are you gonna do? Sit out there in the dark till someone comes and bites you? Is that gonna make you feel better? Like, I don't know. Again, we don't know these characters enough for me to judge them in any way, shape, or form too harshly, but it just felt really weird and unnecessary, particularly from a group that's been out there surviving it for as long as they apparently have been. So anyway, I don't know what it was in aid of, I suppose, other than them, I guess, cementing that they belong at Hilltop right now and that they want to be part of the community. And Tara did handle it very diplomatically. I mean, if it had been Michonne, woo, they would not have tried sneaking back in the way that they did or coming back to the front door, because Michonne would have been like, she would have pulled the Medea like, I'm sorry, who are you? Where do you think you're going? Showing up at Old Dark 30? At my door? No, sorry, we closed. The doors was open. We told you where to be. And considering the doors ain't open yet and you're on the other side of it, that says to me you don't belong here. So there's the road. Hit it. Hopefully you find your friend. If you don't, not my problem. Michonne wouldn't have been up for that mess. That's why she said, your butts need to go to Hilltop because I ain't got time. Her hands are full trying to keep her little 8-year-old the adopted daughter from running off and chasing psychopathic bat smashing murderers, not to mention a toddler. Like, she ain't got time for all that. But other than that, it was an okay episode. I really would have liked to see more of what was going on at Alexandria, because Michonne has not been back for a minute. And some things have gone down between Negan leaving and, of course, the Whispers. And I really think it'd be interesting to see a conversation between her and Negan about the Whispers. Maybe he's interacted with them before, like maybe it was way before. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we get back there and the aftermath of everyone finding out about the Whispers and the death of Jesus. And yeah, honestly, I just feel like Alexandria is a little bit more interesting at the moment. So that's pretty much it for the episode, guys. As I said, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot, but it was definitely one of those expositionary episodes that like to take us on a little bit of a story journey. And now we know the story of Lydia. What did you guys think of this episode? And do you think that Lydia truly is trying to be on board now with the people at Hilltop, or do you think she's just too broken to be brought back? Please leave your comments below. You know, I love reading them and getting involved in that conversation with you. And if you like this video, guys, please click like. And if you see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya.